ready to shake your asses.
I went deaf on the bitch.
Break your asses.
Ever since you left me, more money, more cars, more hoes, more shows. Ever since you left me, more diamonds, more gold, more motion, more hoes. I went deaf on the bitch. I went deaf on the bitch. All I need is one night.
You gon' have to splurge on it.
All I need is one night.
Whipped in a purse.
I went deaf on the bitch.
Ever since you left me, I know you see the glow up. Oh, you just turn a hoe up.
More blessings, more M's, more lit niggas in my DMs. I went deaf on a nigga. Beyonce bitch to the left on a nigga. I don't get mad, I get dressed on a nigga. Get suited up, private jet on a nigga with the next rich nigga. You think I'm stupid, don't ya? I went deaf on a nigga. You just got shot by Cupid.
I went deaf on a
nigga. You just don't hear me talk.
All I need is one night.
So please believe me when I say
All I need is one night. I went deaf on the bitch.
All I need is one night, one chick, dumb drip. Baby want a piece, call me scrumptious. Baby wanna be with me, call me husband. She was singing on my mic, Teddy Ruxpin. This that true love cool. First time I heard the flow, they knew I do. Christine Pink, Moulin Rouge, got the 3-piece suit, me blue love shoes. I went deaf, bitch, blew my mood. I just get bitch and fuck any bitch I choose.
I went deaf on the bitch. I went deaf on the bitch. All I need is one night.
You gon' have to splurge on it.
All I need is one night.
Whipped in a purse.
I went deaf on the bitch. I went deaf on the bitch. I went deaf on the bitch.
Hello, good evening, you guys. Good evening. So I wanted to try to see if I could find a way like to get us caught up with several other things that we've kind of like talked about and are entangled in and things that are coming up, right? So you all know that we followed the case between Steffon Diggs and Chef Miller. But Steffon Diggs has another case that potentially is coming up here in Maryland. And I want to update us about what's going on with that because there was some more information that was released on that the last couple of days. But before I do that, I want to talk about some updates with Pooh Shiesty and the kidnapping or alleged kidnapping of Gucci Mane, right? And so the song I just played was Lil Durk's song, Should Have Ducked, right? And Should Have Ducked was a diss record. And guess who it was about? None other than FBG Duck. Okay. And this is what we talked about when we talked about that black boys manifestos are their rap lyrics, right? White boys, they journal and they write manifestos, but black boys, they list their crimes in their rap lyrics. And so here we see in this video, Should Have Ducked. It's so obvious, right? And you have Lil Durk and Pooh Shiesty rapping in this video, right? And so we are going to be trying to get caught up. I'm going to try to get us caught up on all of the things that have been going on with Lil Durk so that we can prepare for that trial that's scheduled to start August the 25th. Now, there's a possibility that that trial will either be moved up or delayed for this reason. They are trying to sever the cases, okay? So there are co-defendants of Lil Durk that don't want to go to trial with Lil Durk. So in the event that the cases are severed, Lil Durk's case could get pushed up or pushed back, either one. But for right now, Lil Durk's case is scheduled to start August the 25th. And one of his attorneys is none other than Brian Steele. And so we will be taking a look at that case, and we will be discussing that as frequent as we can once that case gets started. But we know that is the murder for hire case, where it is alleged that Little Dirk hired individuals to commit a murder. And so we are going to be taking a look at that. But I wanted to play that song because we are going to talk about Pooh Shiesty, right? And Pooh Shiesty, his attorneys, they've been up to some bouffalet, okay? Pooh Shiesty and his attorneys have been up to some bouffalet. And I call it that because, of course, okay, it's procedure. Everybody, you represent your client. You're supposed to do everything that's in the best interest of your client. But the idea that Pooh Shiesty will be asking for any type of bond conditions, thinking that he's going to get any type of bond, is ridiculous, considering that he committed a crime while on house arrest on a home monitoring device. Like, it's not going to happen, sir. So there's some additional information that has come out as a result of all of this. And so I wanted to get you all caught up on what's happening with that. I'm going to play this brief little clip. Then I'm going to read something for you guys about it. And then we're going to take a look because the video, they had footage of the video of the kidnapping that day. And Law and Crime has that footage. And so we're going to take a look at that video as well. I want to play y'all this first video, you guys, though, because I think that it is hilarious. I love when white people attempt to report on Black news, and I love the way that they say these names and try to put all of this stuff together. It's like a bowl of confusion, but it's funny to listen to them try to report it as accurately as they can, right? So I want y'all to listen to this first clip. Give me 1 second. Oops.
Prosecutors revealed they now have video showing part of an alleged robbery at a Dallas recording studio that resulted in 9 people federally charged.
Court filing says the video shows rapper Pooh Shiesty demanding Gucci Mane release him from his recording contract while an armed man blocks the door. Shiesty is facing kidnapping and extortion charges. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager has more from the latest filings. Peyton.
Yeah, Stephen, Heather, now this newly obtained federal document was filed by prosecutors in response to a motion made by Pooh Shiesty filed last month proposing home confinement, arguing that the evidence against him didn't warrant keeping him in custody until trial. However, prosecutors say the strength of the government's case has actually increased, obtaining this release contract and also obtaining this video. Take a look. In newly filed documents, rapper Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr., is pictured here on the right with the big diamond chain and black ski mask on his head. Pooh Shiesty, allegedly unhappy with his record contract, asked Gucci Mane, real name Roger Davis, labeled with the initials RD here, to release him from his contract. When they met up in Dallas, January of 2026, prosecutors say Gucci Mane initially refused to sign the release. They say Pooh Shiesty then, quote, produced an AK-style pistol described by victims as a choppa, pointed it at RD's head, and repeated his demand that RD sign the release of the contract. Court documents include a still image from a video prosecutors say shows Pooh Shiesty's father holding the release paperwork. They also say Gucci Mane was forced to say on video Pooh Shiesty dropped from 1017, known as 1017 Records. According to the filing, rapper Big 30 recorded the video while co-defendant DeMarcus Glover, pictured here, blocked the door while holding a firearm. Prosecutors say the group also stole about $450,000 in cash and jewelry. The video is a major development in the case. Back in April, Pooh Shiesty's attorney defended his client by pointing out the feds at the time didn't have any video.
They have no video of this alleged signing of a contract. They have no guns. They have no jewelry. They have none of that physical evidence.
The filing also includes what prosecutors say is a signal group chat where Pooh Shiesty used the name Michael Myers to help plan the meeting alongside responses from other co-defendants, saying, "I need 6:30 for Saturday," pulling up on WAP plus 2 drivers.
Right, that would have been the best route.
Prosecutors say 30 refers to certified gangsters. In all, Pooh Shiesty and 8 others are charged with kidnapping and extortion. At the time, Pooh Shiesty was on federal home confinement for an unrelated firearms conviction in Florida, where he was also prohibited from using drugs or alcohol. To support that claim, prosecutors included text messages from Pooh Shiesty, here saying he was, quote, high and drunk when asked what he was doing. Another text saying, quote, "Baby, I'm drunk as F."
Yeah, y'all hear that?
Prosecutors also say they have 5 witnesses and victims who are cooperating and corroborating this evidence. Pooh Shiesty remains in the Kaufman County Jail. He already pleaded not guilty.
There.
His trial is
he
set
is not
for February.
Get a bond. He is going to remain
there
there
in federal prison.
He is a perfect candidate.
Stephen, Heather, back to you.
All right, Peyton.
He is the perfect candidate to not be granted a bond. He said, and they didn't think to hide the camera. And then, okay, they might not physically have the jewelry, but they definitely have video of the fact that this jewelry was taken, because afterwards they talk about the video that the robbers posted online. So they might not have physically been able to find where this jewelry is, but obviously they got some evidence that this jewelry was in the possession of people who did this robbery. So I understand the attorneys have to defend their client, but some things just, it's like, give it up, turn it loose. Like In Vogue said, give it up and turn it loose. We don't want you no more. We don't need you in this community. You are just crazy, out your mind, insane to think that anybody is buying this. You said, no, they not going to release him. He literally just got out of prison and went and did dumb shit on a home monitoring device. Tears. He was on the device. So I'm going to read this article to you guys from Complex, because the issue is that he is being accused not only of the fact that he did all of this crime while on this home monitoring device, while under supervision, but that the reason why he was allowed to do this was because he was involved in an inappropriate relationship with the supervisor. And this is why he was granted the access to be able to leave, to go commit the crime that he did and then get back home. You said he was sleeping with the probation officer, right? Yes, that's what I'm about to read to you guys, right? So this article comes back, is from Complex, right? It was written on June 29th. And it's titled, Pooh Shiesty's Case Prosecutors Allege Inappropriate Supervisor Relationship, High and Drunk Text. So we saw a little bit of it. Exactly, Tiz. We saw a little bit. Oh, okay. The super. Exactly. We saw a little bit of the mention of it in the last video that we just watched, right? But I'm going to read to you a little more of what the prosecutors are alleging. Okay. So prosecutors want Pooh Shiesty to remain in custody ahead of his trial. Go figure. I mean, it's no surprise. It's no shock, right? And so they are citing alleged admission of drug and alcohol use, plus what they claim was an inappropriate relationship with a case supervisor, in support of their argument. In court documents filed June 24th and viewed by Complex prosecutors point out that Shiesty, born Lontrell Williams Jr., was living in a North Texas apartment and bound by a previous sentence under which he was ordered to home detention when he allegedly took part in an armed kidnapping and robbery earlier this year. As part of the terms of this previous unrelated sentence, Shiesty was required to refrain from consuming alcohol or using controlled substances, among other restrictions. Williams Jr. routinely failed to abide by these conditions throughout the course of his home confinement, assisted in skirting these requirements through the help of collusive VOA employee. So that's Volunteer of America. That's who was in charge of his home supervision, right? So it reads the government's response to Shiesty's latest efforts to secure his release. Investigators have now learned that Williams Jr. was involved in an inappropriate relationship with at least one. Y'all, that report we just heard didn't say that. That report that we heard did not just say, it made us think it was just one. But this article is making us think it might have been more than one of them. But they can at least confirm that it was at least one, right? It says investigators have now learned that Williams Jr. was involved in an inappropriate relationship with at least one of his VOA case supervisors, and that this VOA employee was actively involved in entering fake day passes that would allow Williams Jr. to travel to unapproved locations while he was supervised to be confined to his residence. Prosecutors continue. This misconduct extended to the day of the kidnapping itself on January the 10th of 2026. On that day, the employee entered 3 day passes, allowing Williams Jr. to travel, and contacted him 19 times over the course of the day. VOA later terminated the employee for this misconduct. I'm sorry. Maybe I need to hold my comments, y'all, but I had to stop. I'm sorry. She needs to be fired, but there needs to be some charges for this employee too. This employee needs some charges aside from being fired. Like, fired is the least, right? Exact, real groupie shit. Like, what in the world? I am sick of these people working in these places and facilities doing and facilitating this bullshit. Like, she needs to not just be fired, she needs some criminal charges alongside this, right? So for those unfamiliar, VOA in this instance is an acronym for Volunteers of America, which is what I just told y'all, a nonprofit and Bureau of Prisons contractor. All told, per prosecutors, Shiesty was formally written up for violating the terms of his home detention at least 4 times, including as recent as March of this year. Also included in the June 24th data filing are screenshots of alleged text messages involving Shiesty. High and drunk, reads one alleged text from Shiesty when he asks what he was doing at the time, circa October 2025. I'm drunk as fuck, read another from November. Complex has reached out to a legal rep for Shiesty for comments. And it says this story may be updated. They don't have any comments from him now. In April, Shiesty was among 9 people confirmed to have been federally charged in connection with an alleged kidnapping and robbery at a studio in the Dallas area. The incident, described as a coordinated armed takeover by authorities, took place in January. At one point, Shiesty is alleged to have brandished an AK-style pistol while forcing the signing of paperwork releasing him from a recording contract. As previously reported, though a criminal complaint obtained by Complex shortly after news of Shiesty arrest, when public did not directly name him, it was quickly clarified that the target of this alleged armed takeover was believed to be none other than Gucci Mane. Indeed, an individual named only as RD is mentioned throughout the complaint. Gucci Mane's real name, of course, is Roderick Davis. At one point, as detailed in the complaint, Shiesty pulled a black AK-style pistol from a bag and pointed it at RD. Simultaneously, he allegedly continued to make demands for RD, presumably Gucci Mane, to sign paperwork. He eventually complied, and prosecutors said. Shiesty later pleaded not guilty in the case, which has also ensnared his father, Lontrell Williams Sr., also known as Big 30. Okay. I'm sorry. His father is not Big 30. His father, I forgot what his father's nickname is, y'all. But and his fellow recording artist, Big 30, right? So those two are also implicated into this crime with him. So you said he is on house arrest for a reason. See what he did when he got freedom. Exactly. Like, you're not going back on no kind of home supervision, sir. You are in there, and you are in there, sadly to say, maybe for the rest of your life, nigga. Okay? For the rest of your life. Right? Should have ducked. Now, take that. Pun intended. That's why I played that song before this live. Should have ducked. Should have ducked. So we are looking forward to the prosecution of Little Dirk coming up on August the 25th, and we will be looking forward to these proceedings that are coming down on Pooh Shiesty. This shit needs to stop in this community. It is awfully, our community is crazy. They want the crime to stop, but then when the people who they revere get locked up for the crimes, all of a sudden it's freedom. Well, it's like, which one do you want? Do you want the crime to stop, or do you want these criminals to be free? I'm sorry, these people did this shit. Okay? In the story. Now, maybe it will lack evidence, and the lack of evidence will help them to get off for it. I don't know. But just like I believe that much of the YSL members was guilty of what they was being accused of, and the prosecution just did not have that case put together, maybe it'll be the same outcome. Maybe in the Lil Durk case, maybe in this Pooh Shiesty case, they won't have the stuff put together, and it's possible that they can walk. But you are not going to convince me these people didn't do it. They did it. They did it, okay? Like, at least don't be delusional. Okay, at least say freedom for whatever the reason is you want to say freedom, as long as it's an honest reason. But don't be delusional trying to pretend like these people didn't do this shit. Okay, they did it. They did it. If you have some other reason why you want them to be free, that's completely understandable. But trying to say that they didn't do it, or trying to twist these facts or evidence to try to make it look like it didn't happen, I'm not buying none of that, okay? You cannot convince me. So now we are going to go to Law and Crime, because we are going to look at this video of Pooh Shiesty on the day of the kidnapping, okay, with Gucci Mane.
In a major federal case where prosecutors claim rapper Pooh Shiesty held his former colleague Gucci Mane at gunpoint, all in an attempt to break free from his recording contract. So now, as Pooh Shiesty is fighting to get out of jail before trial, still months away, the government is revealing more alleged misconduct, claiming he can't be trusted on the street. We've combed through new filings to bring you the very latest on this case, and we're bringing on the attorney who had been representing Pooh Shiesty in this case, Bradford Cohen. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. By the way, if you're following us here on Law and Crime, you might see that we put all these clips out there so quickly on these rapidly developing stories. And if you're into content creation, if you're putting things out on social media, you might be wondering, how are we able to do this? Well, we use something called Opus Clip. This is an all-in-one AI editor that makes it so easy to cut, create, and upload videos across any platform. Through AI, Opus Clip generates B-roll, it reframes footage, and it even cleans up audio. It is so easy. You just visit opus.pro/sidebar. You sign up, you upload, and in minutes, you'll have perfectly edited clips ready to go. For TikTok, Shorts, Reels, Opus Clip is really your one-stop shop. And having a tool like Opus Clip means that our producers can get you viral courtroom updates instantly. This is the most powerful tool there is to share ideas and edit like a pro. So go to opus.pro/sidebar to get a free week and then 50% off. Have you seen this clip that's been floating around online? You probably have. Now, it's not clear exactly where it came from or how content creators got their hands on it, but we'll talk about that too. But it purportedly shows the moment when Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr., and his co-defendants allegedly held rapper and record executive Gucci Mane at gunpoint. Allegedly, it was all because Pooh Shiesty wanted out of his recording contract. Now, we're going to bring on Bradford Cohen, attorney to the stars, had represented Pooh Shiesty at one point in time in this case until recently. But we'll get his perspective on all this. But just take a look at the video for yourself.
You dropping this done deal. It's a done deal. Let them know you dropping me. I drop you. No, I'm saying. Pooh Shiesty dropping 1017. Shout out to Real nigga ain't never did no police or none of that, bro. Tell them what's going on. Bro, we just did that. That's done. What you do? You drop. You said you want to be dropped, you drop. You signed the paper. It's done.
So we corroborated this clip's apparent authenticity with the screenshots from a federal filing that appear to show the same people in the same studio. Because in the screenshots, the guy who appears to be Gucci Mane, his face is redacted with the label RD, so presumably standing for his real name, Radrick Davis. Pooh Shiesty is also reportedly, allegedly visible, wearing his signature balaclava. You can also see who appears to be one of his co-defendants, identified by the feds as DeMarcus Glover, standing near Gucci Mane, allegedly holding a large gun. And the feds claim that Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30, is the one who's actually.
I got to stop. Wait a minute. We just heard Pooh Shiesty lawyer sit up there and say, wait a minute, what did you say? Okay. We just saw Pooh Shiesty lawyer sit up there and say they didn't find no guns. Sir. They don't need it. It's in the video. The guns is in the video. They don't need the guns. It's in the video. It would be similar to you unaliving somebody on a video and then they can't find the body. Guess what? It's nice to have the body, but they don't need it because they got the video. They got the video of the dude who is his co-defendant standing next to Gucci with the gun, holding it on Gucci, while Pooh Shiesty is making him say, you drop from the label. What more do you need? What more evidence? The lawyer talking about they don't got no guns. Boy, shut up.
We also know that federal prosecutors submitted a USB with digital evidence to the court on June 25th. This was a major escalation in this case. It's the latest evidence to emerge against Pooh Shiesty because he stands accused of orchestrating this alleged brazen kidnapping and robbery plot. And the reason this USB and the video and the evidence has come out recently is in response to a request from Pooh Shiesty's legal team to re-examine the conditions of his pretrial detention. Because Pooh Shiesty has been locked up since he and his co-defendants, including his father, Armstrong Williams Sr., were indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit kidnapping, conspiracy to commit extortion, those kind of crimes. Now, according to the indictment, Pooh Shiesty allegedly arranged a meeting with Gucci Mane at this office building in Dallas, Texas. This is where the music label 1017 apparently has a recording studio. Pooh Shiesty had been apparently signed to the label since 2021, but reportedly wanted out of his contract. Now, how he's accused of trying to get out of that is interesting because prosecutors claim that he didn't, go through a lawyer. They claim he used the threat of violence to get what he wanted. And then they accuse him and his alleged co-conspirators of robbing Gucci Mane and his entourage on the way out. The defendant's arrival, by the way, at the building was reportedly captured on the building's security cameras, and screenshots of the footage were included in the criminal complaint. And this is new, by the way, a text thread included in the government's response to Pooh Shiesty's bail request that allegedly shows the plan in the making. It says, quote, Williams Jr., using the name Michael Myers, discussing needing 6 certi, or certified, which is believed to refer to certified gang members, for that Saturday, January 10th, 2026. Someone else in the thread says, I got the cat and TRX. Prosecutors believe the cat refers to a 2020 Dodge Charger Hellcat belonging to defendant Rodney.
They went to go rent cars to go take them to commit the crime. And then members who assisted in the crime got on the bus to go back to their destination at the end. So that's where that's coming from. Now, let's continue. Let's continue a little bit more.
Wright's father, which was reportedly seen on camera leaving the office building, right? The alleged crime scene. This is according to the criminal complaint. And investigators claim that the crew took luxury items from Gucci Mane and other people, other alleged victims, including a necklace, a chain, watches, a Louis Vuitton bag. And according to prosecutors, what's believed to be the same items later appeared on the defendant's social media pages. And despite what you may call what you can.
So we just watched Pooh Shiesty's attorneys say they did not find any of the evidence. They did. They found it on their social media. They didn't have to find it in their possession. They found it on their social media. They had the footage of it. So whatever they did to dispose of it by the time the authorities got there to make the arrest, it doesn't matter because you advertised that you took these things from the victim, confirming you are the assailants.
Arguably call, again, they're innocent unless proven guilty, but arguably call the apparent avalanche of evidence against him, Pooh Shiesty's legal team is fighting to get him out of jail. So a judge had denied Pooh Shiesty's bail earlier this year, but his lawyers want that reviewed. By the way, his trial's been pushed back to February 2027. There's a lot that can change between now and then, but his team says he should be released with strict conditions up until his trial. Before we even talk about the arguments in that filing, I just want to go a little bit back. And I want to talk a little.
Hold on. How much more strict do you get than a home monitor device that is connected to your person? And you didn't give a damn about that. So the home monitor device puts you at the scene of the crime. Not just the fact that, they got these messages between you and the house arrest supervisor and all of that. No, the home monitoring device puts you at the place of the crime. So the scene of the crime. So how more strict do you get than the fact that you are attached to a home monitoring device and you decided to still go commit a crime despite being on that? But you're making the case. This is just ridiculous. You should just be ashamed. Just sit your ass in there. Sit your ass in there. You should be ashamed to even be asking for some goddamn bond right now. This is ridiculous.
A little bit about Pooh Shiesty's past experiences with the justice system, because it's important. In April of 2022, a federal judge out in Miami had sentenced Pooh Shiesty to 63 months, so a little more than 5 years in prison. And as part of a plea deal, he pled guilty to one felony count of conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of violent and drug trafficking crimes. According to charging documents in that case, Pooh Shiesty was believed to have been part of a group that shot 2 people and stole drugs and high-end sneakers at a hotel in Miami-Dade County back in 2020. Pooh Shiesty, he was released from the Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, in October of last year. And the rapper apparently signed paperwork last fall outlining all the rules that he would have to follow while on home detention. According to that paperwork, Pooh Shiesty agreed, quote, "I will not drink alcohol beverages of any kind. I will submit to urinalysis or alcohol testing as requested by the RRC probation in its motion for review of pretrial detention." Pooh Shiesty's legal team stated, quote, he reported for...
They sign anything to get out of there, knowing damn well they don't have no intentions on following it once they get out of there. And then when they get in trouble and get caught up for violating it, then it's tears, it's crying, give us another chance. Oh, you violating my rights. Oh, this is a violation of my rights. They want to make smoking marijuana and drinking right to free speech. They gonna put that in the free speech motion.
Every required urinalysis. He never tested positive. He complied with all conditions of home detention without exception. Here's the thing. 2 sides, according to Texas prosecutors, the rapper had not been following the rules. The feds filed several exhibits with the court, including incident reports regarding Pooh Shiesty's alleged refusal to undergo urinalysis tests at the VOA, or Volunteers of America, which contracts with the BOP. So, for example, one report says, quote,
he refused to take the test. You have the audacity, after what you've done in this crime, to ask for another bail review when you refuse to abide by the conditions of your previous release. But you still this is the gall, the audacity of people to think that they are supposed to be able to just do whatever they want, violate whatever they want, and then commit another crime, and then they supposed to have all of these rights to all of these things, that they had this right to be free committing all of this crime and not even abiding by the conditions that allow you to be free while you're awaiting trial for these crimes.
Client was informed on March 21st, 2026 in the morning that he needed to report to the VOA facility to provide a UA. Later that evening, the client was contacted by phone as a reminder to report again for the UA. The client stated that he did not have transportation as his producer was out of town. The client then asked if he could report first thing the following morning. I informed the client that I would need to obtain approval and would call him back. After speaking with Ms. Blair regarding the situation, she approved the client reporting the next morning. I then contacted the client and informed him that he was required to report on March 22nd, 2026 at 10 a.m. The client stated that he understood. On March 22nd, 2026, at approximately 20:01, the client had not shown up. Another report states on November 9th, 2025, at approximately 1:39 p.m., client Lantrell Williams was asked to produce a urine sample. The sample that was provided was cold and did not read between 90 to 100 degrees.
He probably got
Supervisor
that from
was
his son,
notified, who then
brother,
advised to write
cousin,
up as a refusal.
sister.
The government also apparently produced
Lord,
these
have
text
mercy.
messages that were allegedly sent by Pooh Shiesty that they say prove he was drinking despite the rules against it. So one, for example, allegedly from October 13th says, quote, high and drunk. October 18th, quote, I'm drunk. January 25th, quote, getting drunk. And in a conversation, seemingly from January 31st, Pooh Shiesty seemingly texted, what's up? I just got up. I've been tore up. Person responds, you was drunk, LMAO. And Pooh Shiesty reportedly replied, yeah, man, passed out in the studio. You know what else? The rapper even reportedly got into a car accident while drunk in February. That's a new allegation. There was a text message, a text thread that was included in the government's motion and includes this exchange, quote, I got in a wreck. What the F? How? You was drunk? Yep, but somebody hit me. So look, it seems he arguably, allegedly wasn't super cooperative with the terms of his release, right? That's the allegation. And get this, the feds claim that Pooh Shiesty was essentially in cahoots with a case supervisor who helped get him day passes. Here's what their response says. Quote, investigators have now learned that Williams Jr. was involved in an inappropriate relationship with at least one of his VOA case supervisors, and that his VOA employee was actively involved in entering fake day passes that would allow Williams Jr. to travel to unapproved locations while he was supposed to be confined to his residence. This misconduct extended to the day of the kidnapping itself on January 10, 2026. On that day, the employee entered 3 day passes, allowing Williams Jr. to travel, and contacted him 19 times over the course of the day. VOA later terminated the employee for this conduct. Makes me think, is that going to be a key witness at an upcoming trial? But what else did the defense present as a reason for why Pooh Shiesty?
She needs to be in jail. Like, I'm sorry. She needs to be in jail right alongside him for this. She's supposed to be the one who is the enforcer of the law. She has a bigger burden to make sure that the law is followed. Her allowing him to do that, he might have done it anyway. This is the thing. He may have done this regardless, whether she gave him these opportunities or not. But she definitely made it easier for him to do what he did. She needs to be in jail alongside him.
Should be let out of jail. Well, according to them, the star witness in this case, Gucci Mane, recanted. Yeah, from their motion, it says, quote, strip away what the government does not have, and what remains is this. RD, Radrick Davis, or seemingly Radrick Davis, told Dallas police on the night of January 10th that Mr. Williams pulled a gun on him, forced him to sign a contract release, and robbed him of his jewelry. That statement, relayed through an FBI agent who was not present at the incident and who did not interview RD herself, is the sum total of the government's case as presented on the core offense. Special Agent Hansen conceded on cross that the FBI has not taken a formal statement from any of the 5 alleged victims in the 4 months since the incident. More damaging still, RD, the man at the center of this case, has gone on social media and denied that any of this occurred. He has posted videos repudiating the government's account, and according to defense counsel's unchallenged representation to the magistrate judge, has displayed the allegedly stolen jewelry as if it were still in his possession.
Now, y'all hear this shit? Did y'all hear this shit? This is why I wanted y'all to watch this with me. Did y'all hear this shit? Y'all heard this? Gucci has recounted his statement, saying none of this never happened. Just me, where are you at? Where are you at? And I'm asking for Just Be because we started this journey on this case together. We started this journey on this case tears about this kidnapping with Pooh Shiesty and kidnapping Gucci Mane, and we started this together. You got me taking a look at this mess. Now Gucci didn't let these people punk him into recanting his whole entire statement. It was speculation. People were speculating and say, oh, we don't know for sure if Gucci made a statement. Well, now it is confirmed that he made a statement saying that these things happened. It is confirmed that that statement was not properly taken and documented. And now he is taking back the statement, recanting the statement. And he's shown up with the jewelry and the items that they allegedly took from him. Fuck what you saw on those social media videos. I got my shit. They ain't take my... Fuck what you seen in that video that they got in possession at the studio that I met Shiesty at that day with that dude with the damn gun holding me up, making me say that I'm releasing him from a label. Forget all of that. Forget all of that stuff. Forget that the whole monitoring device puts Shiesty at that location that same day. It wasn't me. Gucci doing the shaggy. It wasn't me. That must have been some other nigga. It must have been another boardroom, another meeting somewhere else that day. Somebody must have had similar items to me. It wasn't me. Lord have mercy. They better stop. They better stop playing with me.
Agent Hansen did not know about these posts and confirmed that no one from the FBI had spoken to RD after they appeared. A complaining witness publicly recanting the offense is not a minor evidentiary wrinkle. It is a fundamental problem. Look, if that's true, it could really be damaging to the Fed's case. But remember, Gucci Mane wasn't the only alleged victim of this purported shakedown. In fact, the man identified in court documents as CW, so reportedly one of Gucci Mane's security guards, submitted an impact statement to the court urging that Pooh Shiesty remain locked up. In it, he wrote, quote,
right. So, Gucci, you're recanting your statement, but your hired security is saying, this man did this. We were there. We saw it. Like, what is this? One of your bipolar episodes? Is your wife making sure you are taking that medicine? Listen, I told y'all at the time when he made that statement, he was probably on that medicine. So he was probably in his right mind. But since that, maybe like the telltale heart things is haunting him because, you know, he knows that he done committed so much crime in his lifetime, and he knows that he is participated in this no snitching culture. And maybe that shit is getting to his conscience. And so he felt like, you know, he probably stopped taking that medicine. And now since he stopped taking that medicine, he hearing them voices like in the telltale heart, Edgar Allan Poe. And he is saying, you know, I can't do this. If I can't do this, my conscience can't let me do it. I don't know what is going on. This is a bipolarism moment. His security community who was present with him, who are also victims in the crime that day, are saying, nigga, yes, that was you. They held us up too. We thought we was about to lose our lives. And here you are recanting the damn statement. What you say? You said Gucci definitely did, but he on the internet saying he never cheat. F that, you a grown ass man with a family. Stand on your statement. I hate this street no snitching shit. Me too, Tez. Me too. Like, this is ridiculous. This is actually Keisha need to check to see if Gucci is taking that medicine. Because this is the thing. You let these niggas get away with this shit, guess what? They're going to do something more severe the next time. Because they going to see you a bitch. That's what they then going to determine, that you are a bitch. Like, you, what in the hell is going on? That's why I needed y'all to watch this with me. This story just gets better and better.
Prior to this incident, Mr. Williams was given a second chance and was granted bail bond with monitoring conditions. Despite those conditions, he was once again accused of committing another crime that resulted in a person being shot. My wife and I are both afraid of what his mindset might be if he's released. Since the incident, I have found myself watching vehicles passing by my home, worried that he or someone connected to him may attempt to harm me or my family. I have young children. Because of this fear, I have limited their ability to go outside and enjoy normal activities as they should. Judge, I respectfully ask that you consider the safety and security of my family and me when making your decision regarding bond. I believe keeping Mr. Williams detained is necessary to protect us and prevent even further harm. Thank you for taking the time to hear my concerns. Respectfully, CW, Texas victim and survivor. So look, the defense is hoping for home confinement. They want conditions that are similar to those that he was under after his release from prison. So 24-hour home confinement, GPS monitoring, continuous third-party monitoring managed by a retired FBI special agent and a retired DEA special agent. Pooh Shiesty could reportedly secure the bail with up to 8 properties. His team suggests that he surrender all travel documents and passports, that there be a no contact order regarding both the alleged victims and the co-defendants, so a way to kind of alleviate any concerns there might be if he's released. But the government responded. The government followed up with a 25-page response, including several exhibits that challenge some of the defense's arguments. For example, they say that the, quote, release of contract, which the defense argued was never found, was discovered. That it would seem that the purported video of the incident would support that. The prosecution also pointed out that even if Pooh Shiesty wears an ankle monitor, it apparently doesn't deter him from allegedly committing crimes. He was wearing one when this whole alleged kidnapping and robbery happened. So look, the judge has not ruled on whether bail will be granted, but you know we're going to stay on top of this and see what happens. Okay, so we got a special guest. I want to welcome back on Bradford Cohen. So not only criminal defense attorney to the stars, had represented Pooh Shiesty at one point in this criminal case. Thank you so much for taking the time. Always good to see you. This is a significant development. I mean, the last time you and I talked about this, there was a question, well, what does really the government have? What's their evidence?
Sure.
I mean, they seem to have this video and they seem to have a copy of the contract. Feels like it's going to be tough for the defense.
Sure. So there's a couple ways to look at this. Number one is when this case was originally filed, why I thought this case was so done
on the video
in a sloppy manner is because they didn't have any of this, right? They were looking for this stuff. They didn't do any search warrants that they could get the stuff early on. They didn't do any physical search warrants in terms of locations. They just didn't do the work originally on this case. What they did is they just indicted. So my original argument was they don't have any of this stuff, which they didn't. Since that time period, obviously, they've done their work and they started to discover these things. Now, I would be foolish to say, wow, this is a great video for the defense, because it's not. But at the same token, my argument at the bond hearing, which I conducted, was even if they had all this evidence, it still does not rise to the level of a federal kidnapping charge. What? The charges that they charged him with do not meet the evidence that they have, the actual elements. So it's really a legal argument. I understand, like, the populace, and I posted on my Instagram.
Okay, so I want to stop right there because this is a genuine question. I'm thinking that the reason why this rose to the federal case is because the fact that in the conversations, it is noted that these people, some of these individuals who participated in this crime traveled across state lines to commit the crime. So I thought that's what automatically made it eligible to be a federal crime. But if I got that wrong, I can stand to be corrected. But from what I understood, because individuals, and there is confirmation in conversations, and why car rentals had to be in the confirmation in the car rentals, and then when they had to return home and bus tickets, they traveled across state lines, some of the individuals that helped to commit this crime in order to commit this crime. And so from my understanding, I thought that's what made it eligible to be a federal crime.
Today, and the opinion is like, oh, he's cooked, and this, oh my God, he's in all these different things. They don't understand the legal argument behind it. Now, this may be a state case. It may be some state arguments. There may be other federal charges that should have been filed, but not a federal kidnapping charge.
Explain to me why it doesn't fit that.
So in order to fit a federal kidnapping charge, there needs to be a benefit, and that benefit needs to be proven. And their benefit, their theory of this benefit, that's one element, by the way. The second element is that there's some sort of interstate commerce clause that comes into effect. They can't prove these weapons were made out of the state of Texas, which generally that's how they bring cases in federal court, kidnapping cases. It has to affect interstate commerce. So then they say, oh, well, maybe their cell phones were communicating on their cell phones. That doesn't make any sense because they didn't show any. What about travel?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The travel, that's in the interstate these defense attorneys be shady, boy. What the fuck?
So the travel would have to be proven that they traveled specifically to kidnap, or specifically.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. It would have to be that they specifically traveled to commit the crime. They have them on the communications talking about committing the crime when they say they need the single, whatever, how many they use, whatever term they use to say they need the gang members. What else was they coming there for? They was coming there for a house party? Like, what? This shit. These defense attorneys is tricky, boy. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
To commit this crime. They have not proven that. So that was my original argument. I had case law that backed that up, and I really think that it was a very, very articulate argument that the court just was not, she just didn't want to take it under advice. She just saw like, okay, this FBI agent came in, she says there's a kidnapping, I'm going to say there's a kidnapping. The actual judge in the case who looked at the evidence at the time said, I don't see where this is a federal kidnapping case. For Big 30 and Pooh's dad on their bond hearing, they appealed to the judge, and the judge said, I don't see a federal kidnapping case here. I'm going to give them a bond. So that is still the argument. Now, are there other federal charges or different federal charges that they may look at? Sure. But this was done so hastily and sloppy. They should have had the right indictment with the right charges from day one. And I think it would have been a cleaner case for the defense and a cleaner case for the government.
Is it extortion? Is it conspiracy to commit extortion?
I think that there's an argument for that. I think there's some arguments for those issues. Again, you're still going to run into whether or not it's a federal extortion as opposed to a state extortion case. I think there's just some issues there, legal issues that need to be raised in case there's an appeal or in case there's things of that nature. Now, the X factor here is that there's many defendants, and whenever you have many defendants, you know as well as I do, the best crime is committed by one person. The worst crime is committed by 8, because out of the 8, 7 are probably going to flip on the 1. So I think that's what their bigger concern is that, these individuals are going to flip on.
Is that they know the motive to why they wanted to kidnap Gucci. And Pooh, Shiesty, stands to be the one to benefit from the kidnapping. So, I mean, this is obvious. This is no rocket science.
On Pooh or his dad or Big 30, because those are the people that they really want, and the other people are kind of peripheral. So, and they might not have enough money for good attorneys. There's so many things that take place in these type of cases where there's multiple co-defendants that it starts to kind of fall apart at that point.
So let's assume for a moment, let's say in this theory that it does match up to the federal charges. Let's just put that for a second. If I look at this video and I'm wondering, how does a defense attorney explain it away? Is it one argument he wasn't being serious? He wasn't serious? Like, it's a weird clip. It is a little bit of a weird clip. Like, you see a guy allegedly with a gun,
he wasn't being serious. He wasn't being serious. I think the other people in the room that were there to guard Gucci think that it was very serious. I think all of the planning around it showed that it was very serious. Like, can one of the defenses be that this wasn't serious? Oh, Lord have mercy. I can't.
One of the co-defendants.
I can't.
He's there, like saying to the camera, I'm released from the contract.
right there.
It's a weird video. And you know, one of the arguments that's being made, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Gucci Mane doesn't, like he didn't take this seriously, like went on social media and kind of, I mean, defense says that he recanted what happened. Is there any way?
He took it serious enough that when he took his ass down to that station, he snitched. Do we realize who we are talking about? This is like the godfather of no snitching culture. And he took it serious enough that when he took his first statement with them people, he snitched. You want to know another thing that shows us he take it serious? He took this shit back. Now, y'all might not understand what that means over there, you know, where y'all at. But over here on this side of the culture, we understand what it means when somebody goes down there and makes a statement against somebody and then they recant the statement. That means they take it very serious. Very. You see? Exactly, Tears. Like, y'all might not understand what y'all are looking at, but we know what we are looking at. You are talking about the godfather of no snitching culture, who went and gave an initial statement to these people saying, yes, this nigga did this shit. And now he's recanting that statement. He gonna blame it on the bipolism. He is going to blame it on the bipolism. One of them statements is going to be the bipolism, okay? And he is going to try to make it that he don't have to testify because he takes it serious. He knows either way this is a serious matter. You said his life was threatened. That's why he took it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Tears. On y'all side of the culture, where the hue is a little lighter, y'all might not understand that. But down here is the shades getting more dark and gray. We know what that means. Okay? He takes it very serious. Just know that. Okay?
Well, you could look at that video and be like, this wasn't serious, like it was I don't know, it's not staged, but it was a gimmick, or it was I don't know if that's anything, but am I wrong about that?
Not wrong. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at the video depending on the evidence that comes out. When I look at this video, if they're going to say
this defense attorney, he know this old crock of shit. Not wrong. No, you know it's wrong. You sit up there trying to figure out how way can you try to play into this bullshit that was just presented. You know you didn't defended enough people of the same color as Pooh. And you know damn well, and I ain't talking about Winnie the Pooh. You know damn well, no, that is not possible. That's not possible. Just be honest and say no. We can't. I can't go that.
This
far.
video is an actual video that's not staged or not a joke or things like that. That you could make those arguments, or there's evidence that shows that it's not. Here's the issues that come up. Right. Number one is the statement is that Pooh had an AK-47. Pooh was the one who was forcing him to sign a document with an AK-47. In the video, Pooh does not have a weapon in his hand. He allegedly is filming it.
Pooh, that's when they was inside of the room, the meeting room. In this video, no, we don't see. But it looks like they in the hallway right now. But maybe and possibly in that room, yeah, maybe it was something going on. Maybe with Gucci, the statement he made is true. And I'm pretty sure that there has to be some type of consistency between Gucci's statements and then the other the other victims in the room. You said Shiesty looks like his hands is in his hoodie holding. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's not on this camera doing that, but they were in a board meeting room where that possibly did happen. And I'm pretty sure that whatever statement Gucci made, that it had to be some consistencies with Gucci's statement and the statement of the other victims in the room.
In the statement, they were saying Big 30 was filming it and that Pooh was the one with the weapon. Then they also say that they take all the jewelry, that the jewelry is taken before or after he goes into the studio. You see Gucci with his, allegedly Gucci with his diamond earrings still in his ear. That was one of the things that he said he made them take out the diamond earrings in his ear. So if that was the case, why wouldn't they have robbed him right there? They're taking this video, shut the video off, robbed him right there in the studio instead of waiting until they got out of the studio and then robbing him. There's still a lot of issues there with the video, even if we were to assume that this video is not weird, but it is super weird.
He's a robber.
The other day, there's a guy that looks like he has a gun with him as he's telling him I'm released from the contract. I mean, another argument is it looks straightforward based on the accounts, based on what the prosecution has alleged. It seems to match up to the narrative what's in that video.
Well, he's also saying something like, I already said you're out of your contract.
Exactly.
I already said that you were out of your contract. It's just the body language is weird.
They only recorded the part where he admits on camera that he's out of the contract. They wasn't trying. Do you think they was trying to record the whole entire crime so that you could easily put it together? Do you think that they haven't done this before, where they know that they need to do certain things in order to try to make it look kosher? You said they right, like they only record the part to have proof that exactly, Tears.
Conversation is weird. And I have had a lot of conversation with Gucci before this all occurred. I was very friendly with Gucci during Pooh's first case because I represented Pooh on his first case. And I really love Gucci. Like, I think he's a good dude. And to see this video, it just doesn't seem like this would be Gucci's, whether or not there's a gun in the scene or not. I know Gucci, like the old Gucci. And I don't think that the way that this was broached with him in his hands in his pocket saying like, hey, you're out of your contract, very calmly, all the things that are going on, it seems really unusual for Gucci to be in this position. And I understand everyone's like, well, there's AK-47. There's a lot of guys there. Like, I mean, between me and you, Gucci used to be John Wick. Like,
the unmedicated Gucci. The Gucci who is the one who is used to being on the other side of the crime. Not the Gucci where he's the one who is the victim of the crime. Like, that's the Gucci is the Gucci who was not on medication. He's now under the care of a physician for his mental health disorder. He might be thinking a little bit more sane. He might want to stay around in this world a little longer. His decision making is probably changed. But now he is living with the aftermath of when he wasn't under control mentally. He's living with the aftermath of that because of the stuff he pushed. So now he is under the pressure and the stress of, do I stick to my statement and have this person prosecuted for the crime that they committed against me, or do I keep and hold the code to the culture that I help to promote? That's the dilemma that Gucci is in right now. Lord have mercy. Ooh.
Like not the violent John Wick, but the mindset of like, I don't care if there's a million guns.
The violent one. Don't try to make it seem like
that's
this
just
ain't
Gucci.
violent.
So I don't ever pitch Gucci. I don't ever picture him with his hands in his pocket saying, "Yeah, I'm good," and I don't care who's in the room. But
that's going to be the YouTube title for this video. John Wick is the new. Excuse me, Gucci Mane's the new John Wick. Look, this is all being brought because of pretrial detention, right? This is all being brought about whether or not Pooh Shiesty, there should be a change in his pretrial detention. Should he be released? At the very least, the rules of evidence, the standard is different when you're having an analysis in terms of pretrial detention versus whether or not somebody is guilty beyond the reasonable doubt. Do you think that this is sufficient for the prosecution to establish he shouldn't be released or there shouldn't be any changes?
I think it weighs very heavily on the side of the government. I think the defense has some work to do. I would start subpoenaing people to this bond hearing, let them object to who you're going to subpoena. I'd like to see if individuals who gave statements previously are still sticking to those statements. I think that's really relevant. And even during my bond hearing, when I had the bond hearing with Pooh, the FBI agent is like, I haven't even had any contact with any of the victims since the incident. I didn't even have contact with them.
I kind of agree with maybe they need to call some of the victims. Because this is the thing. I want to see Gucci uphold and make that statement in front of the court and recant his statement with those individuals that he hired to protect him there. Like, you put you have those people's lives in jeopardy right now. Their children's lives are in jeopardy. Like, I want him to be able to recant that statement in front of those people, to look those people in their face and recant this statement about what happened that day. Because this is absolutely absurd.
At the incident, I read a police report. I did my due diligence, and she didn't even write the report. They put on an FBI agent that did not author a report, that did not gather any information, that did not gather any evidence. It was really a sloppy bond hearing. They were lucky because the magistrate was on their side. But if that was in front of a judge that was paying attention, and I don't, no disrespect to the magistrate, but I think if there was a judge who was really paying attention to the law and what they presented at that bond hearing, I think it might have been a different story. I know everyone says, "Oh, it's an uphill battle." I mean, listen, everything for me is an uphill battle, but that's why I'm Brad Cohen.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. The modesty. Before I let you go, a big component about this is the contract, right? The contract that was printed out in the store. And then now it seems the prosecution says, hey, we got it. We can show it to you. Is that significant?
I think it definitely helps their narrative.
Release. I mean, the release of it, right?
I think it helps their narrative. And here's another thing that's really not normal is that this evidence is being released. Obviously, it's not the defense releasing it. This evidence is being leaked into the press, obviously by the government, which is also a nasty move that they do on basically any case. They never let the defense leak the good stuff, but the government always leaks anything that's bad, and then the judges just let it go. Like, it's never really addressed in court how this
got something to do with why the statement is being recanted. Let's be real here. Let's tell the truth. The defense has something to do with why this statement is being recanted. And I wouldn't be any bit surprised if you had something to do with some type of communication between Pooh and Gucci of how that statement got recanted. because I know how attorneys like you maneuver and work. You may have something to do in the communications, which is why you may no longer be on the team representing Pooh Shiesty. You mentioning that, oh, you know Gucci, he's your good friend. Oh, you was so good friends with him when he represented Pooh Shiesty in the last case and all this shit. You, sir, may have something to do with how Gucci's statement is being recanted right now. And that may be the reason why you are no longer a part of this legal team, so that you can wash your hands like Pontius Pilate. That's the reality. Oh, the prosecution leaked the recording. The defense never gets to leak the good things. You leaking to us right now that it's something don't smell right about the recanting of this statement. That's what you leaking to us.
Video got out, who set the video out, why it went out, how did they get a hold of it? There's never ever any, very infrequently are there investigations of the government. But putting that aside, the having the physical contract is definitely, if it's a signed physical contract, if it's a physical contract without his signature on it, I don't know how much further that gets them. It definitely gets them, a little bit further. But if it's not the signed contract, where's the signed contract? Why was it never used? Why did the record executives never get notice that he is now dropped off of 1017? Why did he never shop himself around to other labels after allegedly he was dropped from Gucci's label? So all those things come into question if this was a real deal.
Before they caught them? I don't even think it was a large gap in between the time that the crime was committed and then they went to go arrest them. I think it seemed like it was only like a week time span or something like that. So, I mean, how would he have had time to shop himself around? Or I don't know. Let's continue to listen.
Thing, and this really happened the way they said it did, then why didn't he go out the next day and start negotiating contracts with Columbia Records or Sony or whatever and say like, hey, I'm no longer on 1017. I want to make my own deal. That never happened. And you don't see any emails saying that, hey, we're going to renegotiate or anything like that. So that's really, I think, a hole in their case. Is it an impossible case to win? I never find any case impossible to win. There's always a way to win. It's whether or not arguments are presented correctly, motions are filed that need to be filed, evidence that can be excluded can be excluded. So all those things really come down to your legal prowess. It's not just the story that the government is telling. It's also whether or not the elements are met and how their elements are met.
Well, let's see what happens. We got some time between now and February 2027, if that trial should actually happen at that point. Bradford Cohen, thank you so much for coming on and giving your perspective on this. Appreciate it, as always.
The best. The best. Jesse Weber is always the best.
I love it. Thanks, man. That's all we have for you right now here on.
Okay, so that is the end of our conversation on Pooh Shiesty. We are waiting to see what will happen with that. Will he get bond? Will Gucci recanting the statement be enough to get him a bond? Will Gucci be called to recant his statement in a hearing that may be called on this bail review? All of these things we are waiting and anticipating to see if it will happen. But we will be keeping an eye out and watching out for these things. And we are going to be keeping an eye out for this house arrest supervisor to be arrested and charged with some of this crime, because what she did didn't make no goddamn sense. Okay. She was out of line and out of order, and she needed to be arrested. And that's what I'm calling for. I might start a protest, see if we can make an arrest. So we move on to our next story, which is Steffon Diggs. Now, y'all know Cardi didn't broke up with Steffon. They ain't together no more. Let me get Steffon to the stage. Let me get Steffon to the stage. Okay. Cardi ain't with him no more. She done been out doing her thing, been speculated that she might have, had some little flings with a couple of African men, and that's part of the soccer, what is it, the FIFA, whatever. And so there's a lot of rumor and speculation about what was going on with Cardi and the mystery man over there. And so it brings us to this story on Steffon Diggs in another situation that he had prior to the Chef Miller situation. This situation here was happening prior to the Chef Miller situation. And so I'm going to read for you guys the defamation case, okay? Prior to us going into these updates on this case. So this case with Steffon Diggs is a suit. It was a lawsuit filed and a countersuit, okay? And there are allegations that Steffon Diggs sexually assaulted Christopher Griffin, okay, at his house in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Okay, Steffon Diggs' house in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And so there are allegations, and for those who keep themselves updated and watching and looking at Tasha K, Christopher Griffin initially appeared on an interview with Tasha K. Now he's an influencer of what? I don't know. He supposedly he does something. I don't know what it is. I don't keep up with it. I never seen him a day in my life until I saw him on Tasha K making these accusations against Steffon Diggs. So the accusation, you said Steffon bisexual fighting. Yeah, this is crazy, Tears. This story is crazy. So Christopher Griffin ends up on. He does this interview. I think he had done some other interviews and made some other statements, but we all know that Tasha K ends up being a viral sensation every time. And so he goes and does this interview with Tasha K where he gives the goods on what he alleges took place with him and Steffon Diggs. And this also involved a situation that included Steffon Diggs' brother. And so before we read the allegations, the defamation suit that Steffon Diggs filed against Christopher Blake as a result of this Tasha K interview, we want to first say this. We're going to read from primetimer.com, right? News article. This news article was wait a minute. No, that's the wrong one. I don't want to read that. Hold on. I'm going to read the TMZ article. Give me 1 second. Yeah, we don't want to read that. So the TMZ article we want to read because this just happened on and was published July the 10th because this just happened. And I want to read this before we read the defamation lawsuit that Steffon Diggs filed in 2025 against Christopher Griffin. And then we are going to go to some commentary about some information, some evidence that was just handed over to the court in relation to this defamation case, right? So just the other day, this headline from TMZ reads, Steffon Diggs, male sexual assault accuser, settles a $10 million lawsuit with NFL star's brother. Okay? So let's read this. The man who claims Steffon Diggs sexually assaulted him reached a settlement with the NFL star's brother in a separate lawsuit over an alleged beatdown, TMZ has learned. According to the court documents obtained by TMZ, Christopher Griffin hashed out a deal to drop his $10 million lawsuit against Derez Diggs and an LA apartment complex. No details of the settlement were disclosed in the document. Christopher claimed he was attacked by Derez and others on May 29, 2023, and had over $100K in property stolen. In this separate lawsuit against Steffon, which is still pending, Christopher claims he was hanging out with Steffon at his home when he was drugged. He says Steffon exposed his private part and began to pleasure himself. Christopher claims Steffon motioned to Christopher to touch his private part, which led to him telling the NFL star to put his private part away. He claims Steffon tried to kiss him later, but he evaded. Christopher claims Steffon then placed his tongue in Christopher's ear in a kissing manner and whispered to him to come to his room. Christopher claims he was approached by Derez and two women who threatened to harm him if he said anything about what happened with Steffon. He said he was stripped of his clothes and put in a car to the airport. A week later, he said he was attacked outside the elevator in his apartment building by Derez and others. Steffon and Derez denied all allegations of wrongdoing previously and countersued Christopher for defamation. Okay? So what TMZ is reporting is that the $10 million lawsuit that Christopher had against Steffon's brother Derez, who also was accused of assaulting Christopher because of the incidents that took place with Steffon, or that Christopher alleged took place with him and Steffon, that they came to a settlement. So apparently Steffon's brother has settled with some kind of amount. Now the amount that Christopher was suing for was $10 million. We don't know. He probably didn't get $10 million in the settlement, but he had to get something, and I believe that something had some M's on it. Okay, it had to have some M's on it. So, that is what just happened. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. That just happened in the last couple of days. That news was released. So, y'all know what I think when people pay. When people pay. In some instances, maybe they're just doing it because they don't want other details that they might be embarrassing to get out. But in this instance, your brother paid for something like this. I think there's something to be said. And so then there are more headlines as it relates to this defamation case and the countersuit for the assault. So Steffon is suing Christopher for defamation. And Christopher is suing Steffon for assault, for sexual assault. So it's a countersuit. So they are being required to hand over evidence. And in the last couple of days, it has been determined that Steffon and Christopher had allegedly over 100 pages worth of communications with one another. We can tell by the Chef Miller case, Steffon Diggs likes to do a lot of talking and texting. Okay? He likes to do a lot of talking and texting. But in this situation, the evidence that was handed over to the court by Christopher Blake included over 100 pages of communications between these two. Okay? And it didn't tell us what was in the communications, but I'm going to read a brief article that is going to tell us about that. Then I'm going to read the actual defamation lawsuit really quick that Steffon filed against Christopher, and then we are going to watch a clip and wrap up for tonight, okay? So the article I'm going to read comes from, I think it's TMZ. Is it TMZ too? I think this is a TMZ article as well, okay? So it says, the man accusing NFL free agent Steffon Diggs of sexual assault has turned over more than 100 pages of messages between himself and the decorated wide receiver as part of the ongoing legal battle. Attorneys working on behalf of Diggs previously demanded the messages, which they claimed accuser Griffin failed to provide, according to court documents obtained by the Daily Mail. Now TMZ is reporting that Griffin has submitted those messages, which he believes will back up his allegations of sexual assault. The content of the messages have not been revealed. The Daily Mail has sought comments from attorneys representing both Diggs and Griffin. While still a member of the New England Patriots in October of 2025, Diggs sued Griffin for defamation, claiming the online influencer was spreading lies about him on social media. Griffin later countersued, claiming Diggs drugged him and sexually assaulted him, something that NFL star denies. Okay, so that brings us into us reading this defamation suit that Steffon filed against the defamation suit that Steffon files against Christopher Griffin. Okay, So this looks like it was entered into the courts on October 1st of 2025 into the circuit court. And the lawsuit reads Steffon Diggs versus Christopher Griffin. And oops, sorry, you guys. Give me 1 second. And so it says the complaint. Plaintiff Steffon Diggs, by and through his counsel Charles S. Fax, Barry Google, and law firms of Rifkin, Weiner, and Livingston, LLC, for his complaint against defendant Christopher Griffin Blake, states as follows. 1. Plaintiff Steffon Diggs, a native of Gaithersburg, Maryland, grew up in Montgomery County and attended Our Lady of Good Counsel High School. He then went to the University of Maryland, where he became a football standout. Today, Plaintiff is a star wide receiver for the New England Patriots in the National Football League. He is also a philanthropist, having established the Diggs Deep Foundation. Yeah, he's digging deep. A charitable organization designed to provide immediate and ongoing emotional support and financial assistance to children and their families in the Washington, D.C. area. Plaintiff is also the founder of a luxury fashion house, Leem Hoom, which he established in 2022 as an outlet to express his artistic sensibilities and visions in the world of fashion. Plaintiff maintains a home in Maryland, and he has family and friends there. 2. Defendant Christopher Blake Griffith is a would-be social media influencer. My God. Let me read. So defendant Christopher Blake Griffith is a would-be social media influencer on the internet, determined to go viral by falsely accusing plaintiff of depraved and serious criminal activity. On information and belief, defendant routinely uses the social media handle Christopher Blake Griffith. Upon further information and belief, defendant is a resident of Los Angeles County, California. So, jurisdiction and venue. This court has jurisdiction over this matter pursuant to Maryland Code and CTS and its jurisdiction procedures 1-501 and 6-103. And 4, defendant has committed and continues to commit torturous acts against plaintiff in Maryland, has directed and continues to direct torturous electronic communications at plaintiff in Maryland, causing torturous injuries to plaintiff in Maryland. Regularly directs computer information and messages to Maryland, and by purposefully availing himself of the privilege of conducting such activities in Maryland, has subjected himself to the laws of Maryland. Plaintiff's claim in this complaint arise out of defendant's torturous conduct in Maryland, referenced in this paragraph and described in detail below. Venue is proper in this court pursuant to Maryland Code and Arundel Counties and Jurisdiction Procedures 6-2028 and 11. As defendant is not a resident of the state of Maryland and can be sued in any county in the state. Further, plaintiff's claims arise in Montgomery County, Maryland, where damages have been incurred. Okay, so the amount in controversy exceeds $75,000 exclusive of interest and costs. So then here's the nature of the actions. This case is about dangerous lies about plaintiff that defendant, fueled by greed and misguided hunger for vengeance, is increasingly and is incessantly pursuing across social media to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people, including countless residents of Montgomery County, Maryland. The statement made by defendant about plaintiff gives rise to the actions are pure fiction. Defendant's misconduct towards plaintiff has been and continues to be intentional, willful, wanton, and malicious, and in reckless disregard of the truth, aiming to inflict serious personal injury on the plaintiff. Defendant's outrageous misconduct towards plaintiff has caused him deep, immediate, immeasurable, and ongoing damages. Plaintiff and defendant are acquaintances. On May 20th, 2023, the Digs Deep Foundation held a charity basketball game in Washington, D.C., which drew over 600 attendees and raised $30,000 that was donated to an organization dedicated to build a safety net for single mothers, enabling them to better provide for their families. Plaintiff invited defendant to attend the event, along with other attendees with social media presence, hoping to bring attention to the foundation and its cause. By all accounts, the event was extremely successful. After the game, a group, including defendant, went to plaintiff's house in Rockville, Maryland. Plaintiff was not present when the group arrived. His assistant was there, however, and went into plaintiff's bedroom to retrieve an item for one of the guests. There she found the defendant, who did not have permission to enter plaintiff's bedroom, prying around. Caught red-handed, defendant lied and stated that plaintiff had invited him to take a tour when he got to the house. Plaintiff's assistant rightfully suspected the defendant was lying. She asked him to leave the bedroom and told him to join the group downstairs. At some point, plaintiff arrived at the house and headed back out to a club. Defendant joined him. Meanwhile, back at the house, plaintiff's assistant discovered that the defendant, who had been earlier emerging from the basement carrying a suitcase, had been collecting plaintiff's belongings and property and appeared to be preparing to leave with those items. When plaintiff and defendant returned from the club, plaintiff retired to his bedroom unaccompanied. Thereafter, plaintiff's assistant and plaintiff's brother asked defendant to leave the premises and hailed a ride share to the airport for him. 1 week later, on May 29, 2023, in Los Angeles, defendant accused plaintiff's brother and 2 other individuals of attacking him at his apartment building. Plaintiff was not there, nor was he in California at the time of that purported incident. Plaintiff had no knowledge of nor any involvement in what defendant alleged occurred, or what may or may not, in fact, have occurred that day. On information and belief, on or about October 16, 2024, in retaliation for whatever may have occurred between plaintiff's brother and defendant on May 29, 2023 in Los Angeles, the defendant concocted a seedy and lurid story surrounding the night of the event, which had taken place 17 months earlier, and contacted the Montgomery County Police Department in Maryland to make a false police report against the plaintiff based on that concocted story. Unsurprisingly, the Montgomery County Police took no action against the plaintiff after the false police report was made. Ever since then, defendant has embarked on a social media rampage targeting the plaintiff, his good name, reputation, and livelihood. On or after August 8, 2025, defendant published a story attached as Exhibit A to social media, making it visible to and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. Exhibit A reflects an unprivileged republication of false and defamatory statements by the defendant about the plaintiff. Initially, these false statements were made by the defendant offline to law enforcement, and as noted above, did not result in any criminal charges because the allegations were baseless. Undeterred and on a mission, however, defendant is now using social media to repeat his fabrications against the plaintiff in a public forum. Specifically, Exhibit A is an image of page 3 of 4 from an MCPD incident report, to which defendant has added commentary and social media handles. Plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the statements therein are an accurate reproduction of statements originally made by the defendant offline. Regardless, by publishing the story in Exhibit A on social media, defendant made and published the statements anew to the public at large in a public forum, such that the false statements in Exhibit A are unprivileged. Exhibit A includes the following false statements made by defendant about the plaintiff. Number 1, Steffon Diggs dropped drugged and sexually assaulted me on May 22nd, 2023. And then 1 week later, he conspired to have me killed on May 29th of 2023 to suppress his gay bisexual secret from becoming exposed after I denied his sexual advances and now knew his secret. Bullet 2. He'd offered me all sorts of candy throughout the night that I didn't know was laced with drugs. Bullet 3. That candy drug he gave me made my pupil so big I couldn't even see my eye color, made my skin tingle to the touch, made my body pulsate to music, increased my sex drive in intense form, made it hard for me to form words into sentences, amongst other things. Bullet 4. He put his arms around me, put his tongue in my ear in a kissing fashion while whispering to me to come to his room. Bullet 5. He put his arm around me like a brother would do, which is why I didn't find it odd. But when his arms were around me, he was gripping my shoulder forcefully, pulling me close to him, which took away the distance that was once between us, then pulled this move. Bullet 6. I found it harder than normal to exert force because of whatever substance he drugged me with. And he likely was expecting me at this point to be sedated by whatever he drugged me with earlier in the night. Bullet 7. With an ear drenched in his saliva and now realizing I'd been drugged, we walked into his residence. He went left and walked up a spiral staircase to his bedroom while I ran right down a long hallway to the bathroom that was at the end of the hallway. And for 45 minutes, I was splashing water on my face, trying to sober up from whatever he drugged me with, while trying to plan my escape from his enormous property. Bullet 8. I came out of the bathroom and was confronted by 2 women and 1 male who asked me to corroborate a story. I was asked several times, so what are you going to say when you leave here? I was asked to regurgitate the story that asked me to corroborate back. I was asked to regurgitate the story they asked me to corroborate back to them repeatedly. And bullet 9. I was then stripped of my clothes, robbed of my belongings, robbed of things I care not to mention until I speak to the active detective on this case. That's in parentheses. Beaten and forced in a car where I didn't even know the destination. I was robbed of my silver titanium Rimawa trunk, jewelry, and more. They stole a minimum of $30,000 to $50,000 of my belongings from my suitcase. And to avoid being further beaten, I did what was necessary in their eyes to support this fictional narrative they forced me to corroborate. Moreover, Exhibit A reflects commentary added by defendant to the story depicted therein, directed to 3 user accounts, tagged by their social media handles, specifically stating and identified as follows. So it just shows the 3. It just shows the 3 social media sites that he tagged in this, I guess, this video in the exhibit. So it was UGG, it was NFL, and it was the Patriots. And then there was a message attached to it that said, y'all gonna let Aaron Hernandez 2.0 just run wild without penalty. I'm aware that you're aware. And since we're both aware, let's act accordingly. So that was the message that was included with that tag. Now, let me go back over here and see if you guys are over here. Okay. That was a message that was included with the tag. Okay. So on or after August 8th, 2025, the defendant published the story attached in Exhibit B to social media, making it visible and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. Exhibit B is an unprivileged republication of false and defamatory statements by the defendant about the plaintiff. Initially, these false statements were made by defendant offline to law enforcement. These false and defamatory statements did not result in criminal charges against the plaintiff because defendant's accusations lacked merit. Undeterred and on a mission, defendant is now using social media to repeat his fabrications against the plaintiff in a public forum. Specifically, Exhibit B is an image of page 404 from an MCPD incident report, to which the defendant has added commentary and social media handles. Plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the statements therein are an accurate reproduction of statements originally made by the defendant offline. Regardless, by publishing the story in Exhibit B on social media, the defendant made and published the statements anew to the public at large in a public forum, such that the false statements in Exhibit B are unprivileged. So Exhibit B includes the following false statements made by the defendant about the plaintiff. Belongings from my suitcase, and to avoid being further beaten, I did what was necessary in their eyes to support their fictional narrative. They forced me to corroborate. Bullet 2, the car dropped me off at the airport in the worst clothes you could imagine, and I was grateful to have made it out alive. I got flight at the airport and traveled back home to LA traumatized. Bullet 3, 1 week later, the hit Steffon Diggs sent out on my life, which was downgraded to an armed aggravated robbery since they couldn't pull it off, occurred at my apartment located at, and he gives the address. Bullet 4, I spoke out because they've been smearing my name amongst the industry, and I'm fed up with protecting my abuser. Bullet 5, the plaintiff is operating a sex ring out of his residence. Bullet 6, Mila kind of saying the same thing, and some of that evidence might be corroborated by some of the text messages that did come out. The person closely assisting him in these crimes is his illegal immigrant, Lindsay Dawn Bolin. So this is the same lady that Mila was having issues with. It was reported having these issues. So Bullet 6 is saying the person who closely assists him in these crimes is his illegal immigrant assistant, Lindsay Dawn Bolin, that helps him carry out these acts. It's a very Ghislaine Maxwell-esque role she plays, where she practices witchcraft on the sexual subjects to prepare them for Steffon. Additionally, Exhibit B reflects the commentary added by the defendant to the story depicted therein, directed to 3 user accounts tagged by their social media handles, specifically stating and identified as follows. So again, it is sent to NFL, Patriots, and others, and it says, "You still don't hear me," right? So that's the message that accompanies that exhibit when it was sent out to those 3 entities. So on or about July the 30th of 2025, defendant published the story attached as Exhibit C to social media, making it visible to and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. Exhibit C is an unprivileged republication of false and defamatory statements by the defendant about the plaintiff. Initially, these statements were made by the defendant offline to law enforcement. These false and defamatory statements did not result in criminal charges against the plaintiff because defendant's accusations lacked merit. Undeterred and on a mission, defendant is now using social media to repeat his fabrications against the plaintiff in a public forum. Specifically, Exhibit C is an image of a page from an MCPD incident report, to which the defendant has added commentary. The image is Exhibit C, is a verbatim republication of the defendant's statement posted by an online blogger with the username Got the Scoop. Plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the statement therein are an accurate reproduction of statements originally made by the defendant offline. By publishing the story in Exhibit C on social media, the defendant made and published the statements anew to the public at large in a public forum such that the false statements in Exhibit C are unprivileged. Exhibit C includes the following false statements made by the defendant about the plaintiff. Bullet 1. Put tongue in ear in kissing fashion. Exhibit C also includes additional text beneath the image. It depicts that is an obvious coded message to and about the plaintiff. It states they mistake my silence for weakness and equate their money fame to power. PSA, you're only as powerful as your subject allows you to be. On or around July 20th, 2029, the defendant published the story attached as Exhibit D to social media, making it visible to and widely shared with the followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. Exhibit D is a collage containing a mixture of images displayed on a split screen with commentary added by the defendant above and or beneath the image. Exhibit D includes the following false statements made by the defendant about the plaintiff. Plaintiff, you can even be bisexual or gay or whatever you want to be in life, as I champion you living your truth. That said, when I continually decline your advances and attempt to get me to party with you, your ego can't handle. No, and resorted to violence to protect what you seem to be so afraid to admit. Exhibit D is a post from an online blogger with the user Got That Scoop, which reshared the defendant's story. The plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the post resharing defendant's story is an accurate reproduction of a statement originally made and published by the defendant online as recounted above and as reflected verbatim in Exhibit D. On or around July 30th, 2026, the defendant published the story attached as Exhibit E to social media, making it visible to and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. In Exhibit E, defendant falsely calls plaintiff a conspirator. Moreover, Exhibit E includes the following false statements by the defendant about the plaintiff. Steffon Diggs has a history of drugging people at his private parties. Specifically, Exhibit E is a post from an online blogger with the user Got the Scoop, which reshared defendant's story, including the above statements verbatim. Plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the reshared story is an accurate reproduction of the statements originally made and published by the defendant online as recounted above and as reflected verbatim in Exhibit E. On or about July 30th, 2025, the defendant published the story attached as Exhibit F to social media, making it visible and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland in Exhibit F. Defendant shared an advertisement for the brand UGG, featuring the plaintiff and another celebrity in a story, and added his own commentary above it, punctuated with two emojis, one of a nauseated face and one vomiting face. Exhibit F includes the following false statement made by the defendant about the plaintiff. So Steffon drugged me, attempted to sexually assault me, and then conspired with his employees, hitmen, to organize an attack on my life. So here are the counts related to the defamation in this case. Plaintiff incorporates the allegation in paragraph 1 through 34 as though fully state herein. The statement made by the defendant as described above and as reflected in Exhibits A through F, falsely accusing the plaintiff of criminal conduct, including of drugging people, sexual misconduct, and violence, are individually and collectively false, unprivileged, and defamatory. The defamatory published statements were widely disseminated on the internet and viewed by the public, including persons in Maryland. The statement were defamatory per se, and that the defamatory quality of the statement is apparent from the words themselves. The statements were not made with a honest belief that they were true at the time they were made. The statements were not opinion. Plaintiff did not consent to publication of the statements. The statements were not protected by any privilege recognized by Maryland law. At all relevant times, the defendant's conduct was with actual and constitutional malice, and that he acted deliberately, intentionally, willfully, recklessly, with ill will or spite, with actual knowledge of the falsity, and in a grossly negligent fashion, entitling plaintiff to an award of punitive damages. As a proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has suffered general damages, which may be presumed by the jury, as well as special damages, including loss of reputation, public humiliation, emotional distress, and economic loss. Count 2. The plaintiff incorporates the allegations in paragraph 1 through 34 as though fully stated herein. The statement made by the defendant, as described above and as reflected in Exhibit A through F, falsely accusing plaintiff of criminal conduct, including of drugging people, sexual misconduct, and violence, are individually and collectively false, unprivileged, and defamatory. The defamatory published statements were widely disseminated and viewed by the public. The statements were defamatory in that they tended to expose the plaintiff to public scorn, hatred, contempt, or ridicule, effectively discouraging others in the community from having a good opinion of or associating with plaintiff. The statements were not made with an honest belief that they were true at the time they were made. The statements were not opinion. Plaintiff did not consent to the publication of the statements. The statements were not protected by any privilege recognized by Maryland law. At all relevant time, defendant's conduct was with actual and constitutional malice, and that he acted deliberately, intentionally, willfully, recklessly, with ill will or spite, with actual knowledge of the falsity, and in a grossly negligent fashion. As a proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has suffered general and special damages, including loss of reputation, public humiliation, emotional distress, and economic losses. Count 3. The plaintiff incorporates and relishes the allegations in paragraph 1 through 35. I'm sorry, my eyes is getting a little blurry, so I couldn't see whether they was L's or I's. I'm sorry. The allegations in paragraph 1 through 34 as though fully started herein. The defendant engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct by knowingly publishing false statements accusing plaintiff of violence, sexual assault, drugging people, and serious crimes. In doing so, defendant intended to cause or acted with reckless disregard of the probability of causing plaintiff severe emotional distress. As a direct result, the plaintiff suffered severe emotional distress, including anxiety, anguish, humiliation, loss of professional standing, and other damages. At all relevant times, defendant's conduct was willful, malicious, oppressive, with actual malice, in that he acted deliberately, intentionally, willfully, recklessly, with ill will or spite, and in a grossly negligent fashion, entitling plaintiff to punitive damage. Count 4. Plaintiff incorporated and relishes the allegation in paragraphs 1 through 34 as though fully stated therein. On or after June 2nd, 2025, defendant intentionally and willfully published a story attached as Exhibit G to social media, making it visible to and widely shared with his followers and others who know the plaintiff, including readers in Maryland. In Exhibit G, the defendant reshared a post from another platform made by another user account, in which that other user account parroted defendant's false allegations parroted the defendant's false allegations about plaintiff. Moreover, Exhibit G reflects the commentary added by defendant to the story depicted therein, directed to 4 user accounts tagged by their social media handles, specifically stating and identifying as the NFL, the Patriots, flag on the play, red flag emoji. And y'all let a goddess like Sarah Jessica Parker shoot with this guy. So I guess Sarah Jessica Parker was the one who was in this ad with Steffon Diggs at that time. Let me pop back in. You said I just popped back in reading T's comments. Yes. So we just reading through so we can know what this Steffon Diggs lawsuit is about. We know that the countersuit is about the sexual assault. But this right now, I'm reading the lawsuit that Steffon Diggs filed for the defamation. Okay, we almost to the end, y'all. We on page 14, and it's 17 pages. Okay, so at the time, defendant published Exhibit A, B, F, and G. Plaintiff had valid and enforceable endorsement contracts with multiple companies. Many, if not all of these contracts include strict morality clauses resulting in financial and or legal consequences for plaintiff, including possible termination of the underlying business relationships and potential liability in the event of public scandal or involvement in public contemptuous, offensive, or reputable situations. Defendant knew and or should have known of plaintiff's professional and commercial relationships. Defendant intentionally and willfully and without right or justifiable cause published the false and scandalous statements described above for the calculated purpose of causing damage to the plaintiff in his lawful business by harming plaintiff's public image and professional relationships, and did with the intent to disrupt the performance of these contracts, and or because the defendant knew or should have known that such disruption was certain or substantially certain to occur based on defendant's actions. On information and belief as a direct and proximate result of defendant's interference and disruption, defendant's conduct has prevented performance or made performance of plaintiff's endorsement contracts more expensive or difficult, and or continuation of such contracts has been placed in danger. Plaintiff has been harmed, suffering general and special damages. Defendant's conduct has been a substantial factor in causing the plaintiff's harm. At all relevant times, the defendant acted with actual malice in this. He acted deliberately, intentionally, willfully, recklessly, with ill will or spite, and in a grossly negligent fashion, entitling the plaintiff to punitive damage. Count 5. The plaintiff incorporated and relishes the allegation in paragraphs 1 through 35 as though fully stated herein. Plaintiff had an existing and ongoing expectation of entering into future commercial relationships and endorsement deals with various entities in the entertainment, fashion, sports, and consumer goods industries based on plaintiff's public image and marketability. Defendant knew or should have known of plaintiff's standings in the industry and the high likelihood of plaintiff entering in such agreements. Defendant, with knowledge of his economic expectancy, intentionally, willfully, and wrongfully engaged in conduct calculated to cause damages to plaintiff and a loss of business, including disruption or destruction of those prospective relationships, namely by publishing false, scandalous accusations of criminal conduct that would cause potential business partners to distance themselves from the plaintiff. Defendant's conduct was committed with the unlawful or improper purpose to cause such damage without justification or right. Defendant's conduct was independently wrongful and that it included the publication of defamatory statements about plaintiff and intentionally infliction of emotional distress upon his person. By engaging in this conduct, defendant intended to disrupt and did disrupt these relationships, or knew that disruption of these relationships was certain or substantially certain to occur. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's wrongful conduct, plaintiff's prospective business relationships were disrupted or lost. and will continue to be disrupted and lost, resulting in significant economic harm, reputation damage, and diminished professional opportunities and economic losses. At all relevant times, defendant acted with actual malice in that he acted deliberately, intentionally, willfully, recklessly, with ill will or spite, and in a grossly negligent fashion, entitling plaintiff to punitive damage. As a result and proximate result of defendant's negligent conduct, plaintiff has suffered lost business opportunities, loss of future income, and other damages. Wherefore, plaintiff demands judgment against defendant as follows. A, for all damages, including presumed damages, general damage, compensatory damages, and special damages, including but not limited to the damages for reputational harm, emotional distress, and loss of goodwill, an amount to be determined by a jury at trial in excess of $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs. B, for punitive and exemplary damages to the extent permitted by law. C, for cost of suit incurred herein. D, for prejudgment and post-judgment interest as permitted by law. E, for injunctive relief prohibiting defendant from further publishing or disseminating the false and defamatory statements as permitted by law. And F, for such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. And that is the end of that filing, you guys. So I wanted to read that. Now, the last thing I want to play for y'all should be like a little bit more engaging, right? Because I can look over here and see if you guys are still in the chat and we can talk about and break in between this commentary. But I want to play, give me 1 second. Let me get all of this out of here real quick that we don't need. So I want to play a 14-minute clip from Ride the Line. These are sports commentators, and they are speaking about the new information that was just released about the 100 pages of communications that took place in between Steffon Diggs. Now, we have no idea what these communications between Steffon and Christopher Griffith say. We don't know, right? So we can't determine whose side we are on. All we know is that 100 pages of communications were handed over as evidence. Now, that 100 pages could be predominantly Christopher Griffin sending these messages out and him initiating contact, and possibly maybe limited responses from Steffon Diggs. But it is being said that 100 pages of communications between these two individuals was handed over as evidence, okay? So this is coming from, this clip is coming from Ride the Line on YouTube, and we are going to take a listen. Give me, oh, shoot. Hold on, you guys. Hold on 1 second. I got to share.
Boy, we saw the videos online. We know the interviews going back to the Minnesota Vikings days where they say, who's the one guy you don't want to date your sister? And the whole team says Steffon Diggs. We've known about the type of...
Now, wait a minute. I got to stop that right there. I did not know that that was going to be the beginning of this, but that was a thing. That was a big thing. Like, going back to those days, they did say that. And so it's the reason they're saying that. Now, I ain't saying that that means that that proves these allegations that this man had made about him, but it kind of supports some of the things that Miller had to say about him on a character level. Now, whether or not Miller, when she accused him of doing, was true, I think there were some areas of gray. I think it wasn't enough to prove in the court of law. But, and I think that she was a bad witness for her own self. That she tanked her own case. But that was true. That was a saying when he was playing for the Vikings. They didn't want Steffon nowhere near or around their sisters. That was said. It was an ongoing running joke.
Character that he is. he now finds himself in some serious legal troubles once again because new developments in a case involving a male accuser who said that Diggs sexually assaulted him back in the day in 2023. This accuser has turned over more than 100 pages of text with Steffon Diggs. And if these were fabricated, then you know what? More power to him, because 100 pages, that's a lot to just sit there and make up. So, granted, we know nothing at all, and we don't know if this is real evidence detailing a real relationship. For all we know, they were talking about business, like, right? Nothing personal. But this is just another incident where Steffon Diggs finds himself stuck on the sidelines because he wants to get out there and play for an NFL team, but NFL teams aren't going to sign him until they know that he's in the clear.
Yeah, so my first thought goes to the fact that I'm not saying Steffon Diggs did or didn't do it. But when I look at the situation as a whole here, sexual assault's tough enough to talk about for anybody, right? I don't think you would bring it up and support it with 100 pages of evidence. There's other ways to get Steffon Diggs busted. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is...
So, you guys, I got to stop right here and say this, because I will hope that nobody will turn over 100 pages of evidence where there is not real interaction, where there is not real communications that might show or support what you're alleging took place. Because we got to remember, Steffon filed this defamation case, but there is a countersuit by Christopher Griffin of sexual assault. And so this evidence is going to be used in both instances. So I would hope, number one, that a person would only turn over communications that would prove what they're trying to prove in court, right? Like, I will hope, like I just said to you guys, like, for all we know, this could be one-sided communications, 100 pages of one-sided communications. That could be the case. But would that make sense? Would it make sense for him to hand over 100 pages of one-sided communications? I don't, if that's all they got, then I guess that's what you hand over if you ask by the court. But it just doesn't seem like that would make much sense, especially when you are countersuing. You are countersuing because of their sexual assault. So it doesn't seem like that would make sense. That's number one. Number two, I hope he would not make false. He would not like doctor something up and give false documents to the court, because there are ways that the court can try to catch that. And that might have him in some other trouble doing that shit. So I will hope that he wouldn't do that. But listen, we don't know none of these people. So they are capable of whatever they've been accused of, and whatever we might think they doing in order to make their point.
Steffon Diggs is outwardly straight too. Like, he does have he has a lot of baby mamas. So we know he is straight.
Wait a minute, hold on.
So for him to come out and say that
they are saying that they believe, that he seems overly straight. He got a lot of baby mamas. Boy, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. Why do you think HIV/AIDS has been spread so rampant, especially through the African-American community like it is? Why do you think the African-American and Hispanic communities are amongst the new cases of HIV/AIDS is overwhelming? It is because you still got men on the down low who refuse to acknowledge their sexuality, and they will have lots of baby mamas in order to try to appeal to their masculinity, because they do not want to come out and admit what they really are. It's a way of trying to hide. So that is not, I'm sorry. I'm not saying this Steffon did this. I ain't saying it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that somebody having a bunch of baby mamas is not no proof that they ain't on the DL. That's what the DL means. Down low. That means that you got to do things to overcompensate to cover it up. So, that don't work either.
That Steffon Diggs sexually assaulted him. Like, it's the shock factors there. Like, I don't think I would lie about that one. If I was trying to get Steffon Diggs put away or get some money out of him in civil court, I would probably make something else up that feels a little more believable. This is like over the top. So it makes me think that something did happen.
Well, let's be clear. We don't know that he's straight. We know that he likes women. He's a
little freaky.
He could swing both ways for all we know. And I'm not judging the man, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that could be the case. A lot of people who are into that lifestyle, like to keep things private, even if it's just experimental. Like, that's not something that a lot of people would go public with. We're getting into his personal details, and I'm going to leave that to him. Let's just talk about the timeline. So this accuser, Christopher Blake Griffith. Griffith alleges that in 2023 at Diggs's Maryland home, Diggs drugged him, made unwanted sexual advances toward him, and then later orchestrated a violent attack against him. Diggs has adamantly denied all these allegations. He countersued Griffith for defamation, claiming that the accusations were fabricated to damage his reputation and extort him for money. A federal judge ordered Diggs to stop being evasive and provide a full explanation of how he knows Griffith. Diggs had said that Griffith blocked him on Instagram, so he was unable to access their previous conversations in the DMs. That would be why Griffith has now turned over more than 100 pages of text messages, which again were on both iMessage and Instagram, according to Discovery. So we are now waiting to see what the latest development is in this case.
So there were obviously a lot of contact between the two of them. So they knew each other in some capacity. It's a really interesting situation here because for Steffon Diggs, it's civil court, number one. So he could get some money out of him, but you're not going to be able to prove anything criminally in civil court. And sexual assault's hard enough to prove in general because the only two people that knew what happened were in the room. So I would, at this point, Steffon Diggs, the season he had was great. The ACL injury, he proved that he could come back off that. Based on what we've seen recently with Steffon Diggs, even with the chef, I know he got off for that, but still, you do not want Steffon Diggs on your team right now because things just seem to be popping up pretty quickly. He should already be off the market. He's too good of a receiver not to be, but all this extra stuff is definitely causing problems for him.
So part of the reason that we're even talking about this is because I believe 2 days ago, it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, but Diggs made a post where he's working out. By the way, he's been extremely active on Instagram. And I honestly do think that it's connected to Brandon Ayuk in a sense that Ayuk is doing all this stuff on Instagram. He's having all these histrionics, posting all these videos. And Diggs is using Instagram to remind everybody that he's still there. But it's all professionalism. He's only working out and nothing else. He's showing you look, yes, I'm presenting my case to you, but this is what I'm actually doing. I'm preparing to play football. In this video a day or two ago, he actually flat out says, is your wide receiver 2 better than me? Name him. Tell me that your wide receiver 2 is a better football player than I am. Which, off the top, I respect the humility to say, he didn't say wide receiver 1. He's saying, look, I'll come in there and I'll be a wide receiver 2. I'll fit the role. And he has been as professional as he can be in getting ready for the season, but no team's going to sign him if he hasn't been professional his own time. If these cases continue to pop up, we're talking about what's going on right now. He did have the situation with the personal chef where he got off. I want to make that very clear. He was found not guilty. His ex-girlfriend, Milan Hernandez, filed a countersuit against him in April 2025. Alleging that he had attempted to stop her from reporting physical abuse in 2024.
Now, y'all hear that? So that's what I'm saying. When the NFL is assessing these type of scenarios and situations, it's not just about whether the person is found guilty or not guilty. It's about what they may have uncovered, what they may have found out in their little investigations that make this person a risk. And they are not going to take that risk. It's not just about whether or not a jury finds them not guilty or not guilty, whether a crime was committed or not. If the ethical violation is too egregious for them to take the risk, they're not going to take that risk. They are going to do something different. And so, whereas Chef Miller was a terrible witness for herself, where she was possibly lying about some of the things that did come out as a result of this case did not make Steffon look good. And it showed that he could be a risk down the line for something more egregious. And so you got the history of the baby mama, you got the things that Chef Miller is saying, which aggressive, he's aggressive towards her. I believe that there was a altercation that took place that day. I don't think that the prosecution and Chef Miller were a great combination to be able to support that, to be able to confirm that happened, to get a jury to believe it. I think there were a lot of lies Chef Miller was telling to still try to cover up some of the things that she had going on that she didn't want to discuss. And so, but we see these patterns of assault, like even in this instance with this Christopher Griffith guy, right? Maybe it might not be things true about the sexual allegations or about what there might be some ambiguity about what happened the day that he went to the property, but the fact that there was some type of assault on him at his apartment, there seems to be something true to that, because there was a settlement between him and Steffon Diggs' brother. And then what is in these 100 pages of communications that might corroborate some of what's being said? I'm not saying the sexual parts, but did you arrange or have somebody go assault him because of those sexual allegations? Like, that could be possible. Part of the story could be true, and the other part could be a lie. We don't know. But apparently, because Steffon Diggs' brother did settle with Christopher Griffith about that assault, that leads me to believe something happened. Because if you did not go to that person's apartment in California to assault them, there should be no reason why you would settle with that. Not in my opinion. So it's something that the NFL is saying, we don't want no parts of this.
What else? Diggs have been charged with felony strangulation, assault, and battery after a pay dispute with the personal chef, which we talked about. He got off of that, but he's got these cases that keep popping up, and 100 pages of textual evidence shows you, like, this case needs to be heard. An NFL team's not just going to sign Steffon Diggs because he says that he didn't do it. They're like, look, you've got enough baggage following you around right now, and this case is still ongoing. So you're going to stay a free agent until we figure out what your deal is. And then if you're good, only if you're good and in the clear, then we will bring you in.
Here's a good one. Would you rather have Steffon Diggs or Brandon Ayuk as your wide receiver 2 right now?
It's so the only team that I think would maybe take Brandon Ayuk would be the Commanders, because the Jaden Daniels relationship, and Ayuk wants to go there. But even at this point, the answer is probably Steffon Diggs, because it actually seems like there's been a turning of the tables. I think Jaden Daniels and Ayuk are.
And that's why I think that Steffon has been here in Maryland like a lot, because where he is in Gaithersburg is close to him being over there near DC. I still say the Redskins. I cannot get myself used to saying the Commanders, but he's been over there, and I think he's been doing like some advertisement trying to get over there, right? And so, and that would allow him to go ahead and stay at his Gaithersburg home if he does make it there. But I don't know. I don't know if I see them taking that chance. I don't.
Oops. They're actually like beefing a little bit, or at the very least, Jaden has drawn the line in the sand, and he's acting like a professional, which doesn't surprise me because he's been a professional throughout his NFL career.
Yes.
But Brandon Ayuk posted a video where he said, "Five gonna tell me, this is my team now. You follow my rules." And then a later video said that Jaden had told him that he's now with the internet stuff. Brandon Ayuk has his phone number. If he wants to talk to him, then he can call him, but he's not going to go back and forth on the internet. So like at the very least, the line in the sand is being drawn there, which I do respect. But Steffon Diggs, if he gets off of this, like there's no questions about his mental faculties. There's no questions about his health either, or his ability to produce. That still exists with Brandon Ayuk. Steffon Diggs just gave you 1,000 yards the season after he tore his ACL. So it's all legal stuff for him. If he can get off of this or prove to teams that he didn't do it, whatever, the case gets dropped, then he'll be on a contender before the season begins.
Don't get me wrong, this is bad. Like, obviously, sexual assault is bad no matter how you break it down.
Extremely serious, yeah.
But with that being said, like, if I was Patriots, I'd sign him tomorrow. Like, I wouldn't even wait for the thing to be done, because like he's probably going to have to give some money in civil court. They're probably going to settle. he's probably going to have to give some money. It's civil court. It's not criminal court, right? So, so it's going to be a situation where if he doesn't do what the judge asks him to do, he's probably going to have to give up some money. It's not going to be good for him, and we'll see what happens with the defamation and all that stuff. But in the end of the day, he was in a locker room last year. For the most part, he seemed like a good dude.
Okay, so I want to mention why they're saying that part. If he doesn't turn over what he's been asked to turn over. And that's an important piece to this too, because that was something that was released prior to this 100 pages being released. There was an update in this case that Steffon Diggs was being required to hand over camera footage from his property on the date that this event, that the assault allegedly happened. He has been refusing. He has been refusing to hand over this information. And so that might play a pivotal part in how this proceeds. How his not necessarily, well, it could end up impacting how his case proceeds because he's alleging defamation. But it definitely impact how the countersuit proceeds because he's refusing to hand over that footage from the property.
Very supportive. He seemed like a good teammate. You got Vrabel running around doing whatever the hell Vrabel does. Like that's who's setting the standard in the organization. You have Robert Kraft doing what Robert Kraft has done. Like Steffon Diggs is a Patriot. Like he needs to retire as a Patriot with everything that's happened. So I think Steffon Diggs ultimately in this case, like it's civil court. He's probably gonna have to give up some money unless he wins in defamation or I'm not a lawyer. We're talking about this on here, but like whether he gets cleared or not, like it doesn't really matter to me. This case is going to be over. He's not going to be in jail. Someone's going to sign him.
Someone will sign him. I agree with that. He's not going to jail for this. It's civil court, like you said. Did he do it? I mean, I have no idea, and I'm not even going to speculate on it. All I can say is, this is very serious. Like we said, we're not trying to downplay anything, but the reality is we just don't know what's going on right now. This is discovery. Evidence is being presented, and then we can figure out what actually happened if they take it to trial, or they might just settle, like you said. But Steffon Diggs can help an NFL team, and the NFL, as we know, they're willing to overlook whatever it might be. You got some personal problems. Well, can you help us win football games? The answer is yes. Then we're going to bring you in. So even if Steffon Diggs, let's say he does settle, or let's say that he loses the case and he has to pay the money. After he does that, I think he'll be with the team. I'm not with you where I think they should sign him immediately. I just know these teams are going to wait. But it's also not uncommon for things to drag on until training camp, guys to remain unsigned. Like that's what a lot of these veteran players do. The difference is Diggs wants to be on a football team right now, but a lot of these veterans who want to go ring chasing, they'll wait until the end of July. They'll wait until mid-August before they pick their team. So I had previously heard that the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Ravens were after Diggs. The Commanders were in that mix.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were any other teams. He said that he wanted to play close to home. I still think he wants to play for the Ravens or the Commanders, but like that's a good group of teams. So he'll most likely end up in a position where he can compete next season.
You know what's crazy? Steffon Diggs, 6 kids, 6 different women.
Hey man, that's his choice to make. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Of course, of course. I mean, it's his choice.
More
to
problems.
Make,
More problems. I get what he's saying. You create, and this is what I keep saying over and over again that I think sometimes gets lost and missed. People have the right to choose and make whatever decisions it is that they make. And if they think that having all of those women and having all of those children spread out and they feel like that they can handle all of that, more power to them. The issue becomes that it creates more opportunity for problems and drama and can end up impacting you professionally. And right now, I think that these are some of the things that these teams are considering when they are looking at him. They are looking at his decisions. And he's not the only NFL player that has this kind of situation. It's not like they haven't had to consider this in other situations. But right now, because he's experienced so much heat and drama from I Am the Drama, Cardi B, who really like kind of put the spotlight on him in a way. right, with her relationship with him. I don't know. Did Cardi B jinx his career in a way? Because some of what Steffon Diggs is being accused of, some of what he's done in his personal life is no different than some other NFL players that are out there. But for some reason, he is experiencing this backlash as a result. So we just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see if he gets picked up by a team. We have to wait and see what ends up happening with this case, this lawsuit and the countersuit, and see if there's any merit to any of it. We will have to see if there are any content creators who are able to get some access to those 100 pages so we can try to see beforehand what might be in it. So those are all of the things that I'm anticipating. But I just wanted to come to you guys this evening, early into this morning, in order for us to get caught up on Pooh Shiesty, in order for us to get caught up on Steffon Diggs. I'm going to try to this week trickle us into the Little Dirk. We want to start because we want to get caught up. You guys may already be caught up, but I'm going to try to do like little lives so that we can try to catch ourselves up on the information relating to the case, because that trial is scheduled to start on August the 25th. And then we also have the David preliminary hearing coming up on July the 21st. So I'm sure there will be more releases on that in these few coming days, and I will be bringing that to you as well. We are continuing to monitor the circus. So we have a whole bunch of things for us to talk about over here and gossip about and have good conversations about. But I thank you guys for coming in and talking with me tonight. I am going to take us out on shoulda ducked, because Pooh Shiesty shoulda ducked in that video. And then excuse me, guys, he should have ducked in that video, and then maybe we wouldn't be having Gucci recant a statement. So you all have a good night. Thank y'all for coming in here and talking with me tonight. Peace.